what if I told you that your peace was never in anyone else's hands? Not in what they say, not in what they do, not even in how hard they try to hurt you. The truth is, no one has ever truly made you angry. They've only touched the places within you that are still unhealed. Most people spend their entire lives reacting, emotional puppets pulled by invisible strings they never bother to trace. One comment ruins their whole day. One betrayal breaks their spirit. One misunderstanding turns into a silent war. But here's the Stoic truth. The world doesn't disturb you. You disturb yourself through how you interpret the world. And if you could change that interpretation, if you could train your mind to pause, to see, to choose differently, then nothing and no one could ever steal your calm again. This episode isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about rising above it. It's about learning how to master your reactions with so much inner strength that no insult gets through, no chaos shakes you, and no person becomes your emotional master. Today, we walk through 15 Stoic lessons that will teach you how to never lose your calm, not with others, not with yourself, not even when life completely breaks your expectations. And we begin with one question. Where does anger actually come from? Because once you understand its root, its power over you starts to vanish. 1. The true origin of anger. Why do we get angry? Most people will say, because they lied, or because she betrayed me, or he spoke to me with disrespect. But anger, real burning, soul-grabbing anger, is rarely about the surface. It's almost never about what was said or done. It's a reaction to a deeper pain, an expectation that got shattered, a fear dressed up as fire. The Stoics knew this long before psychology ever did. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Think about that. When anger shows up, it's rarely about the moment itself. It's about everything underneath it. It's your insecurity exposed. It's your fear unacknowledged. It's your ego feeling under attack. When someone disrespects you and you feel that surge of rage, what's really happening is this. Your sense of self-worth feels threatened. But here's the key. That belief is yours. No one controls it but you. Anger often comes from trying to control what was never yours to control: other people's behavior, other people's opinions, how things should have gone. We tell ourselves, they should have treated me better. This should not have happened. They had no right. Maybe you're right. But anger happens when the gap between what is and what you expected becomes too big to accept. And the bigger that gap, the hotter the flame. The Stoic path doesn't ask you to suppress your emotions. It asks you to trace them back to their origin, to examine them, not indulge them. Because when you see anger for what it truly is, a symptom, not a cause, something powerful happens. You move from reaction to responsibility. And that's not weakness. That's strength refined. So, ask yourself, what am I really angry about? Not just the words someone said, not just the promise they broke. Go deeper. Is it fear of being abandoned? Is it the pain of not feeling heard? Again, is it that old voice inside that whispers, "I'm not enough," being triggered one more time? Because once you see anger clearly, its illusion dissolves. You understand that it's not your enemy, it's your signal. And once you learn to respond to that signal with awareness, Instead of explosion, you've already won. You don't have to suppress your anger, but you also don't have to become its servant. When you understand where it comes from, you take your power back. 2. The power of silence over anger. Let me ask you something. Have you ever regretted staying silent? Probably. But have you ever regretted exploding in anger? Almost always. In a world that rewards clapback savage insults and winning with your words, silence has become seriously underrated. But for the Stoics, silence is one of the most powerful tools in their arsenal. Because silence, the intentional kind, is not weakness. It's restraint. It's wisdom. It's power under control. Lao Tzu said it perfectly. Silence is a source of great strength. And the Stoics would have nodded in agreement. Silence isn't passive. It's strategic. It gives you time to see things clearly, to separate what someone said from your ego, to let the fire fade before it burns something you can't rebuild. See, when anger hits, your body reacts before your mind catches up. Your heart races, your muscles tense, your brain floods with adrenaline. And in that moment, most people lash out. But here's the truth. The first words you say in anger are almost always the ones you wish you could take back. The Stoic mindset teaches a better way. Pause. Wait. Let silence do what anger never can. In that pause, something sacred happens. You create space to think. You regain control of the one thing that's truly yours, your response. Seneca once warned, anger is like a storm. Once it begins, it clouds your vision, distorts your judgment, and drives you into action you'll later regret. But if you can be still, if you can let the storm rage without joining it, you become untouchable, not cold, not indifferent, just grounded. Imagine this. You're in a heated conversation. Someone insults you, misunderstands you, pushes every button. Everything in you wants to react, to fight, to defend. But instead, you breathe. You don't flinch. You let their words pass through the filter of silence. And if you finally speak, your words are calm, clear, deliberate. That moment of self-command, that's real power. Silence doesn't mean bottling things up. It means choosing when to speak and how, or even if you should. Because not every insult deserves your attention. Not every conflict needs your reply. Sometimes the strongest message is no message at all. Your stillness, your refusal to engage in chaos, your calm that speaks louder than any words you could ever say. So the next time you feel that anger rising, don't try to win the moment. Try to win your mind. Use silence like a sword, not to wound, but to protect. Because the person who stays calm while others lose control, they're always the one who truly holds the power. 3. Laugh at problems. Don't take them so seriously. When was the last time you laughed at something? That used to make you furious. Think about that. It's a strange kind of freedom, isn't it? The moment you stop seeing every obstacle as a personal attack and start seeing it for what it really is, just life doing what life does. The truth is, problems happen to everyone. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how spiritual, how on track you think your life is. Life doesn't care. It will throw delays, betrayals, rejections, chaos at everyone. And if your only response is to fight back with tension, ego, and emotional fire, you'll burn yourself out long before the battle even begins. But laughter, now that's a secret weapon. It's not denial. It's not weakness. It's simply refusing to give the absurdity of life control over your peace. When you laugh at a problem, you shrink it. You strip it of its drama. You send a message to your nervous system: this won't break me. This is just life, and I'm still here. Nietzsche understood this on a deep level. He wrote, "Perhaps I know best why it is man alone who laughs. He alone suffers so deeply that he had to invent laughter." That's not just poetic, it's truth. Laughter is a pressure release valve for pain. It's a subtle way of saying, yes, this sucks, but no, it's not going to define me. The Stoics weren't emotionless statues. They weren't cold robots. They were realists, observers of life's chaos, unfairness, and pettiness, who chose not to take it so personally. Why? Because seriousness feeds the ego, and ego makes every problem feel like a personal insult. But the moment you drop the ego and laugh, you rise above it. Let's take an example. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your first instinct, rage. Of course, it feels personal. But what if, instead, you just laughed? Not out of mockery, but out of perspective. You realize this isn't about me. Maybe that person is having the worst day of their life, or maybe they're just careless. Either way, why should you trade your peace for their mistake? Or think of a moment when life didn't go your way. A job, rejection, a breakup, a plan that collapsed. At the time, it felt like the end of everything. But now, you probably laugh about it. Because you survived. Because what felt like the end was actually just a redirection. Laughter doesn't erase pain, but it does take away its control over you. It turns reaction into reflection. It breaks the emotional loop that keeps most people trapped. So, here's a challenge. Next time frustration rises, pause, take one slow breath, and smile, even if it's forced. Let that small smile whisper a truth your mind may have forgotten. This too will pass. And maybe, just maybe, you don't have to fight this one. You just have to laugh, learn, and move on. Because sometimes the most stoic thing you can do is not win the argument, not prove your strength, but to smile and keep walking. 4. Focus on long-term victory, not the immediate battle. Have you ever won an argument but lost your peace? You proved your point, you got the last word, but afterward you felt drained, bitter, disconnected. That's because in the heat of conflict, we forget what actually matters. We fight to be right, to defend our pride, to satisfy our ego. But the Stoics teach a different kind of strength, the kind that looks at the situation and asks, is this really worth it? Because here's the truth. Not every battle is yours to fight, and not every victory is worth the cost. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, general, philosopher, surrounded by betrayal, pressure, and responsibility, said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's the whole game. Real power is not about controlling others. It's about mastering your response, especially when provoked. Long-term victory is not about scoring points in a debate. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to. Someone who values peace over pride, growth over ego, direction over reaction. Someone who walks away not because they're weak, but because they're wise. Staying calm isn't about being passive. It's about being strategic. You choose which fires are worth putting out and which ones will burn themselves out without your help. Ask yourself honestly, how many arguments in your life actually changed anything? How many conflicts left you feeling better, not just temporarily justified, but genuinely at peace? Most arguments aren't about truth. They're about dominance. And when you take that bait, you give away your time, your energy, your clarity for what? The Stoic doesn't react impulsively. The Stoic zooms out. And the bigger picture says this: your life is not a courtroom. You don't need to win every trial. What you need is clarity. Clarity about who you're becoming. Clarity about the kind of relationships you want. Clarity about what's really at stake. It's not your pride. It's your peace. Think of the people who inspire you most. Do they explode over every inconvenience? Do they lash out over every misunderstanding? No. They respond with composure, with a grounded presence, with the quiet confidence of someone who knows who they are. Because here's a truth most people ignore: the person who wins the moment often loses the mission. And your mission, it's to build a life that feels steady, strong, and centered. Not one that's thrown off course by every insult, every disagreement, every ego trap. So next time you're tempted to clap back or defend your pride, pause. Ask yourself, what am I really trying to prove, and to who? Then zoom out. Picture the long road, who you're becoming, what you're building, what truly matters. And choose that again and again. That's how you win without fighting. That's how you lead, by letting go. 5. Make calm your mental challenge. What if staying calm became your personal sport? We admire people who are disciplined at the gym or relentless in business. But emotional discipline, that's next level. Because staying calm when it's justified to be angry, that's elite. That's mental strength. That's emotional mastery. Epictetus said it best: any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Read that again. If someone can push a button and you react automatically, then they control you. And the Stoic, he flips the whole game. Instead of reacting, he observes. Instead of exploding, he studies. Instead of being pulled, he rises above. So, what if you made this your daily discipline? Not just a nice philosophy, but a real mental challenge. Each morning, you set your intention. Today, I will not be mastered by my emotions. I will pause. I will breathe. I will stay centered. It doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you don't let your feelings dictate your actions. It means you recognize the old pattern and break it. You say, I feel the anger rising. This is the part where I usually snap, but not today. And yes, it's hard, especially when people are rude, manipulative, or just flat out wrong. But that's the point. That's the game. To be calm when it's easy, anyone can do that. To be calm when it's justified to explode, that's where the real power is. And every time you choose peace over panic, you win. Not in public, not with applause, but privately, where it matters most. Inside your own self-respect. So make it a game. Count how many times you didn't react. Smile at every non-reaction like a mental trophy. Know that while others are busy losing control, you're gaining it. Because emotional self-control isn't about being numb. It's about being free. 6. Accept the reality of life and people. Why do we suffer so much from what people say and do? It's not always their actions that hurt the most. It's our expectations of who we thought they would be. We expected loyalty and got betrayal. We expected understanding and got judgment. We expected consistency and got chaos. But here's the thing. The real problem isn't just them. The real problem is that we keep expecting the world to follow our personal script, and when it doesn't, we crumble. Stoicism teaches us something radical and freeing. Accept what is not what you wish it to be, because the more you resist reality, the more it hurts. Trying to change people who don't want to change is like trying to stop a river with your hands. But when you let go, when you allow life to be what it is, a strange kind of peace enters the room, not because life got easier, but because you stopped making peace dependent on life behaving how you want it. Socrates said, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. Even the ones who frustrate you, even the ones who ghost you, even the ones who lie to your face. Behind every annoying behavior is usually confusion, fear, or pain, just like yours." Now, this doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior, but it does mean you stop expecting people to always act right, because people can only operate from the level of awareness they've reached. And let's be honest, many haven't reached very far. So what happens when you stop expecting others to always show up perfectly? What happens when you accept that some people will lie, some will be selfish, some will never say thank you, some will disappoint you again and again? At first it feels cold, but then it starts to feel like freedom, because you finally stop depending on them for your peace. Acceptance is not the same as giving up. It's not emotional surrender. It's just clarity. You cannot control who apologizes. You cannot control who sees your worth. You cannot control who grows or who stays stuck. But you can control one thing: whether or not you internalize their behavior, whether or not you let it change you, whether or not you carry it around like a weight that was never yours to bear. This shift from control to acceptance doesn't make you weaker. It makes you wiser. Because once you stop trying to fix everyone, save everyone, or get closure from people who never gave you clarity, you reclaim your time. You reclaim your mind. You reclaim your peace. So ask yourself, where in my life am I still resisting reality? Where am I still demanding people act differently so I can feel better? And what if I just stopped? You might find something better than control. You might find your center, that unshakable place within you that doesn't rise and fall with someone else's behavior. Because once you accept life as it is, you finally begin to live on your own terms. 7. Don't take things personally. Let's be real. How many times in your life have you been hurt? Not because someone actually hurt you, but because you interpreted their actions as being about you. The tone of their voice, the text they didn't send, the look they gave, the silence they kept, the betrayal you didn't expect. We tend to take everything personally. We make it about our worth, our value, our identity. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe I should have been quieter, or louder, or smarter, or nicer. And just like that, we carry their behavior like a scar across our soul. But the Stoic, he refuses that burden. He knows a truth most people never realize. Most of what people do has nothing to do with you. It's about them, their wounds, their filters, their story. Don Miguel Ruiz said it simply, "Nothing others do is because of you." It doesn't mean your actions don't matter. It means people interpret the world through their own trauma, fears, and limitations. You can be kind and still be seen as cold. You can be generous and still be told it's not enough. You can give everything and still be rejected. That's not your failure. That's their filter. Taking things personally is the fastest way to become a prisoner of other people's moods. One comment ruins your day. One silence keeps you up all night. One passive-aggressive message makes you question everything. But here's the truth. You were never meant to carry that weight. You are not the center of everyone's universe, and that is a beautiful thing, because it means you're free. Free to interpret differently, free to let things pass, free to return to your truth before absorbing someone else's projection. So next time your mind starts spinning, pause. Ask, what else could this mean? What if this has nothing to do with me? And most importantly, even if it was about me, does it define me? Because the moment you stop making everything personal, you stop handing your peace over to strangers. You stop letting someone's bad mood become your emotional master. You stop letting their wounds shape your worth. You become rooted in who you are, not in how others respond to you. That's Stoic strength. Knowing you are responsible for your actions, not their reactions. So hold your center. Let the storm pass. And remember, not everything deserves your heart. Not every opinion is worth absorbing. Not every misunderstanding needs to be explained. Some things are better left unclaimed. 8. Anger never solves anything. Let's be honest. Anger promises power, but delivers pain. In the moment, it feels like fire. It gives you that rush, that edge, that illusion of control. But when the flames die down, what's left? Broken trust. Words you can't unsay. Connections you may never rebuild. Anger doesn't solve, it scorches. Seneca said it clearly. Anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured. That one quote sums it all up. Anger doesn't just damage relationships, it erodes you. It replays moments over and over in your head. It floods your chest with tension. It keeps you reliving something that's already over. And the worst part, it rarely fixes the problem. Yelling doesn't create understanding. Raising your voice doesn't make people listen. Being louder doesn't make your truth more true. So why do we still reach for anger? Because it's easy. It's instinct. It's our way of feeling powerful when we feel helpless. But Stoicism invites us to take a harder, wiser path. A path that looks calm on the outside, but is full of self-mastery on the inside. The Stoic doesn't deny his emotions, he just refuses to be ruled by them. He sees anger not as power, but as a test, a chance to practice restraint, a moment to choose strength, not force. Think about the people who inspire you. Do they explode when challenged? Do they lash out when offended? Or do they stay grounded, not numb, but aware, responding with clarity, not heat? That's who you become when you master this truth. Anger doesn't build, it only burns. So the next time it rises, don't suppress it. Question it. Ask, what does this anger really want? And what will it cost me if I feed it? Because every time you choose calm instead of chaos, you build a life that doesn't collapse when tested. 9. Let go of resentment and grudges. Why do we keep holding on to what hurts us? It's strange, isn't it? The way we carry pain like it's proof of something, the way we replay betrayals like our favorite tragic movie, the way we speak of forgiveness. but silently keep a list of names that still tighten our chest. We think holding on protects us. If I remember the wound, I won't get hurt again. If I stay guarded, they can't do it to me twice. But here's the truth. Holding on doesn't protect you. It poisons you. It clutters your mind with bitterness. It hardens your heart until it can't feel joy. It turns the present into a war zone over a battle that's long gone. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire while facing betrayal after betrayal, said it best. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In other words, don't become what broke you. Don't let their darkness shape your light. Don't keep reliving the pain just because it's familiar, because that's what resentment is, an anchor. It keeps you tied to a moment in time that should have ended. While they move on, maybe they forget you're still stuck in the scene, still holding the weight. But forgiveness, not for them, for you. That's something else entirely. That's not weakness, that's strength. To forgive doesn't mean the wrong didn't hurt. It means you refuse to let it own you anymore. You say this happened and it hurt, but I'm not carrying it into tomorrow. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing peace over poison. It's about realizing that the longer you carry this resentment, the heavier your spirit becomes. Until one day you forget what it feels like to be free. So let go, not for their sake, for your own. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to send a text. You just need to stop letting the past hijack your present. Think of your mind like a house. Resentment is that unwelcome guest that takes up space, eats all your energy, and never pays rent. You have every right to show it the door. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it because your peace matters more than your past. So ask yourself, who or what am I still carrying, and why? And then the deeper question, what would my life feel like if I finally let it go? That lightness, that freedom, it's been waiting for you. 10. Your role is to guide, not control. Why do we feel so responsible for how others act? We say it's because we care. We want the best for them. We see their potential and we want to help. But often, beneath that help is something else. Control. A subtle urge to manage the outcome, to shape their decisions, to protect ourselves from disappointment or hurt or chaos. We try to control how they talk, how they think, how they grow. And the truth is, it's exhausting, and it rarely works. Because people don't change when you push them. They change when they're ready. Your pressure won't awaken them. It will only push them further away. Lao Tzu understood this deeply. A leader is best when people barely know he exists. True influence doesn't come from pressure. It comes from presence. It's in being the example, not forcing it. Living your truth, not preaching it. Showing the way, not demanding it be followed. The Stoics taught that other people's choices are outside your control. Always have been, always will be. What you can guide is you. Your integrity, your actions, your clarity. And when you do that, when you focus on being instead of managing, you become a mirror that reflects what's possible, not what's demanded. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means giving up the illusion that your peace depends on someone else's behavior. It means stepping back without shutting down, speaking up without controlling, loving without attaching a leash to your love. So the next time you feel the urge to correct, convince, or help someone change, pause. Ask, is this really about them? Or is this about my discomfort with uncertainty? And then remind yourself, my role is not to control. My role is to stay grounded, to lead by being. Ironically, the less you try to control others, the more influence you have. People rarely remember what you told them to do, but they'll always remember how they felt around you. Did they feel safe, seen free? That's what opens hearts. That's what inspires change. 11. Apply the ACD model, awareness, control, direction. What if your emotional pain isn't actually about what happened, but how you interpreted what happened? This is where Stoicism stops being a theory and becomes a transformation. Most people think emotions are automatic. Someone disrespects them, they feel anger. Someone ignores them, they feel rejection. Plans go wrong, they feel despair. But between what happens and what you feel, there's a space. And in that space is everything. Carl Jung said, it all depends on how we look at things, not how they are in themselves. This is where the ACD model comes in. A equals sign, awareness. C equals sign, control. D equals sign, direction. Let's break it down. First, awareness. Catch the emotion before it takes the wheel. Maybe it's a tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach. The mental voice that says, they always do this to me. The moment you become aware, you create space. Next, control. Not of the world, but of your interpretation. You can't control how people act, but you can challenge the meaning you attach to it. Am I projecting? Is this really about me? Is this just an old pain being triggered again? That's inner control. Finally, direction. Take that awareness, take that clarity, and use it for something useful. Instead of spiraling into anger, you redirect into patience. Instead of collapsing in hurt, you choose healthy boundaries. Instead of shutting down, you speak up with clarity, not heat. This isn't denial. It's emotional alchemy. You're taking the raw material of life, even the painful parts, and turning it into calm, into clarity, into wisdom. But it takes practice. It takes slowing down enough to notice your thoughts before they become your reactions. It takes courage to stop blaming the world, to own your mind, because once you apply ACD consistently, you no longer fear chaos. You no longer fear people's moods. You walk into life like a storm watcher, prepared, grounded, unshaken. That shift, that's emotional freedom. That's what makes you unstoppable. 12. Choose solutions over egos. Compromise over conflict. Here's a question worth pausing on. Do you want to be right or do you want to be at peace? Because often you can't have both. It's easy to get caught up in arguments, to dig in your heels, to defend your position, your pride, your story. We all want to be heard. We all want to be understood. But somewhere along the way, we confuse understanding with winning. And that's where everything breaks down. The Stoics didn't argue for dominance. They spoke to clarify. They didn't debate to destroy. They listened to understand. Because they knew something powerful. Anger separates, but wisdom builds bridges. Epictetus put it simply, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. It's more than a clever quote. It's a mindset. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to reload already, planning their next point while you're still talking. And in that space, nothing gets resolved. No one hears anything. Only egos get bigger. only resentment grows deeper. But what if you stepped back? What if you stopped trying to win and started trying to solve? What if the next time you felt tension rising, you asked, what do I really want from this moment, a win or a resolution? Because if the answer is connection, understanding, growth, then why argue like you're going to war? Solution requires calm. Compromise requires humility. It means being strong enough to say, maybe we're both right and both wrong. Maybe there's a third option we haven't even seen yet. That doesn't make you passive. It makes you wise. It means you hold your truth without turning it into a weapon. The Stoic seeks truth, not trophies. They don't walk away from every conflict, but they know which ones are worth their energy and which ones are just noise. Compromise doesn't mean abandoning your values. It means being flexible enough to see the bigger picture. And sometimes the bigger picture says, let's find a way forward, not just for me, but for us. Because when you choose solution over ego, something powerful happens. You stop burning bridges you may later need. You stop planting silence where understanding could have grown. You stop punishing people for being human just like you. So the next time conflict knocks on your door, breathe. Listen longer, speak softer, ask better questions. And above all, remember, your calm isn't just your shield, it's your leverage. 13. Tune in to what your body is telling you. Here's something most people never realize. Your body often knows you're angry before your mind does. We think emotions start with thoughts, with stories, with interpretations. But in truth, they often start in the body. A tight jaw, a clenched fist, a racing heart, a shallow breath, a churning stomach. These aren't random, they're alarms, signals. Your body is trying to talk to you long before your brain catches up. Alan Watts once said, the body doesn't lie, and the Stoics would have agreed. Because one of the best ways to master anger is to catch it before it explodes, before it turns into a reaction, before it becomes damage you can't undo. Here's the truth. Your nervous system reacts faster than your conscious awareness. That sharp comment, that subtle trigger. Your body responds immediately. But if you've trained yourself to ignore it, to push it down, you miss the chance to do something different. You miss the chance to pause, to breathe, to listen, instead of lash out. Emotional mastery isn't about feeling nothing. It's about feeling it early enough to redirect it. It's about sensing the surge and saying, I know this pattern. I've been here before, and this time I choose differently. Your body is a compass. It knows when a boundary is being crossed. It knows when you're stepping into old trauma. It knows when your inner child feels unsafe. But only if you're listening. Only if you have the courage to feel what society has trained you to numb. So start paying attention. Next time your chest tightens, pause. Next time your fists clench, ask, what am I holding on to? Next time your breath shortens, take one deep inhale and ask, what's really going on here? Because sometimes that single breath between the trigger and your reaction is the difference between damage and dignity, between regret and growth, between repeating the past and creating a new pattern. Stoicism isn't about being detached from your body. It's about being intimately connected to it. Your body remembers everything, even what your mind tries to forget. And when you learn to listen without judgment, you gain a guide that can lead you through anything, 14. Be selective with who deserves your energy. Why do we give so much of our peace to people who haven't earned our energy? This is one of the deepest truths the Stoics understood. Not everyone deserves access to your emotional world. Not every opinion is valid. Not every insult needs a comeback. Not every conflict is worth your participation. But the moment you react to everything, you start to lose yourself. You start to give away your calm to every stranger, every critic, every noise. Seneca put it bluntly, associate with people who are likely to improve you, not just those who entertain you, not just those who agree with you, but people who elevate you, challenge you with respect, speak truthfully, hold you steady when you forget who you are. Every response you give, every conversation you engage in is a transaction. You're trading your time, your focus, your presence. So the real question is this a worthy trade? Does the troll online deserve your reaction? Does that coworker who thrives on gossip deserve your inner peace? Does the person who cut you off in traffic deserve your entire mood? When you react to everything, you're not standing up for yourself. You're handing out free keys to your emotional house. And those keys, they come with a cost. Over time, this becomes a habit. You become emotionally exhausted, not because life is overwhelming, but because you've made yourself available to too much noise. The alternative, emotional selectivity. The conscious decision to choose your battles, and more importantly, to choose your silences. Because silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It says, I don't need to fight every fire. I just need to stop fueling it. Being selective doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. It means valuing your focus. It means realizing your attention is a precious resource, not something you hand out to anyone who provokes you. So how do you start? You observe. You notice your triggers. You pause before reacting. And then you ask, does this deserve me? If the answer is no, you let it pass. You protect your peace like you protect your home, by setting boundaries, by closing doors, by choosing who gets access. And what happens? You become grounded. You become steady. You become powerful, not because you dominate others, but because you control yourself. 15. Use gratitude as a tool against anger. Here's a question that could change everything. What if the antidote to your anger isn't more control, but more appreciation? Anger feeds on what's missing, what went wrong, what someone didn't do, what you didn't get. It thrives in minds that constantly focus on the gap between how things are and how they should have been. But gratitude shifts the frame entirely. It doesn't pretend the pain didn't happen. It doesn't sugarcoat the betrayal. It simply reminds you there's still something right. Marcus Aurelius, who led an empire through wars, plagues, and constant betrayal, wrote, "Don't hanker after what you don't have. Instead, fix your attentions on the finest and best that you have, and imagine how much you'd long for these if they weren't already yours." That's not blind optimism. That's disciplined perspective. See, anger narrows your vision. It locks you into a tunnel. All you can see is the insult, the injustice, the offense. But gratitude opens that tunnel back up. It pulls you out of the story you're stuck in and reminds you that your life is bigger than this moment. Try this. Next time anger rises, stop. Name 3 things you're grateful for, not to escape the moment, but to reclaim power inside it. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's the friend who listens when no one else does. Maybe it's the simple fact that you're alive, that you're breathing, that this moment, however messy, is still yours to navigate. That small shift changes the energy in your body. It slows your heart rate. It grounds your thoughts. It whispers to your nervous system, we're still okay. Anger often rises when we feel entitled, when we believe life owes us something, and then it doesn't deliver. But gratitude humbles you. It says, look around. You have more than you notice, and if you're not careful, you'll waste it by obsessing over what you don't. This isn't about pretending to be happy. It's about rebalancing your perspective. It's saying, yes, this situation hurts, but it's not everything. There's still beauty here. There's still meaning. There's still love. Because peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of perspective. And gratitude is what gives you that. So make it your habit. Let it be the tool you reach for when anger tries to take the wheel. Before you explode, pause. Say thank you, even silently, for what still remains. And you'll notice something. The anger doesn't feel as urgent anymore. The tension softens. Your sense of self returns. In a world constantly trying to steal your attention and stir your emotions, gratitude is your anchor. It's your reminder that no matter what's going wrong, there's always something worth protecting. And most of the time, it's your peace. The calm you've been looking for, it was always yours. Let's bring everything together now. You've just walked through 15 Stoic lessons, each one designed to help you reclaim something you were never supposed to lose, your inner calm. And here's the final truth, the one so few people want to face. Your calm was never about the world, never about who respected you or how well things turned out. It was never external. It was always internal. Every outburst, every emotional spiral, every harsh word you wish you could take back, they didn't happen because of them. They happened because of what you gave away, moment by moment. You handed your power over to people in situations that didn't earn it. But that ends now, because if you don't just read these Stoic principles, if you actually start living them, you'll feel the shift. You'll understand peace isn't passive. It's not weakness. It's not silence born out of fear. It's strength. The kind that doesn't need to scream to be heard. The kind that stands and stays unshaken. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to change everyone around you. You only need to master the space between stimulus and response, that sacred space where your real life is decided. And yes, you'll slip. You'll forget. You'll react when you swore you'd stay calm. That's not failure. That's training. Every reaction is another rep. Every challenge is another opportunity to strengthen your inner frame, to choose stillness over noise, wisdom over ego, direction over drama. So ask yourself, as we reach the end of this journey, who do I want to become? The one who is constantly pulled by the outside world, or the one who calmly leads from within? Because you're not here to be ruled by anger. You're here to rise above it. And when you do, the people around you will notice. But more importantly, you'll notice. You'll feel it in your breath, in your choices, in your relationships. You'll stop burning inside every time life tests you. And instead, you'll respond with power, with presence, with purpose. That's the Stoic path. And it doesn't begin with a grand decision. It begins now, in silence, in small decisions, in the quiet, private moments when no one is watching, where character is built, where calm is chosen, where peace is protected. Part 7. This is where everything changes. You've made it here to the end of this journey, and you might be thinking, now what? What do I do with all this awareness, this clarity, this power I just reclaimed? You live it, because knowing these 15 Stoic lessons won't change your life. Applying them will. You don't need to memorize quotes from Seneca or Epictetus. You don't need to call yourself a Stoic or live in a cave or journal in Latin. You just need to show up differently. When the tension rises, pause. When the insult lands, breathe. When the temptation to react grabs your throat, smile and choose not to let it in. These aren't hacks. These are not self-help tricks. They are acts of daily courage. And here's what no one tells you. Most of your real power will be built in moments no one sees. Not when you're on stage, not when you're posting, not when you're being praised, but when you're tempted to explode, and instead you stay centered. When you feel attacked, and you respond with clarity instead of cruelty. That's power, that's control, that's maturity. And every time you make that choice, you are reshaping who you are, not to please anyone, but to honor your own evolution. Because here's the quiet truth. The person you become in private is the person who leads in public. Not through volume, not through dominance, but through presence. You are not a puppet. You are a sculptor. There's a reason we return again and again to Stoic philosophy, because life doesn't get easier. People don't suddenly become nicer. The world doesn't bend to your expectations. But you get stronger. You get wiser. You stop being pulled and start choosing. You become the sculptor, not the sculpture. You stop reacting to what life throws at you and start shaping who you want to be. You become the one in the room who calms the chaos, not because you're trying to control anyone, but because you've mastered yourself. And people will feel that. They'll feel the steadiness in your presence. They'll feel the quiet fire in your restraint. They'll wonder how you stay calm, and maybe even ask where you learned to carry your peace so well. And you'll know the answer. You didn't find your calm out there. You built it in here. Let's be honest. The world needs fewer reactors and more leaders. We live in a world addicted to outrage. Everyone's offended. Everyone's triggered. Everyone's trying to outshout everyone else. But what if you stepped away from that noise? What if you became the one who listens before speaking, pauses before deciding, reflects before reacting? What if your calm became your signature? What if your self-mastery became your brand? That's real influence. That's unshakable presence. That's leadership. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that naturally draws respect. Because here's the truth. In a chaotic world, the calmest person always wins. If this spoke to you, share it. If even one of these Stoic lessons opened something inside you, a perspective, a breath, a sense of, I needed that, then don't let it stop with you. Share this episode. Send it to someone who's struggling to keep their peace. Drop a comment below. Tell me which lesson hit hardest, which one you're going to start practicing today. This isn't just a philosophy. It's a daily practice. It's a way of showing up in the world, in your relationships, in your own mind. So let's spread it. Because the more calm minds there are, the less chaos there is. And that starts with you. Final word. You're not here to survive. You're here to lead. Let's end with this. You are not a victim of other people's moods. You are not a prisoner of your own reactions. You are not at the mercy of every insult, every delay, every disappointment. You are more than that. You are powerful, not because you yell, not because you win arguments, but because you hold your ground while the storm rages. You've learned the tools, you've seen the path, and now it's time to walk it. Not perfectly, but consistently, deliberately, silently if you must, because the one who controls their inner world will always shape the outer one. That's Stoicism. That's your edge. That's your next level. Choose it right now, in this moment, and don't look back.